ended up in the Star Trek conference in 1975 in New York City. Now, we had the other parts of this. We had J. Allen Hynek, Gene Roddenberry, Isaac Asimov, and Robert H. Heinlein. Now, they were four major characters in the original Secret Space program, because I recently got intel that this was real, that Star Trek is real, and it has been.
Yes, it is.
And that was the first line of putting out the information to see who would follow that, just like the War of the Worlds when they tested it in the 20s or 30s or whatever on the radio, the 40s. In the 60s, our generation's version was Star Trek, to see who actually believed it and understood it. I got it.
Yeah.
I was in New York.
And we've been struggling to try to get Whoops.
I just want to finish my sentence, and then I'll pass the ball. But this conference, at the end of it, turned into a giant orgy, and I'm 21 years old, and I'm going, oh, my God, what is going on here? Okay, so I think the same thing happened with the energy in what you're describing, what Bill Tompkins was describing, that things got, and I'm wondering if that has something to do with this, I don't know, I'm grasping at straws because there's some commonality there, and then you have this cabal type thing which talks about the secret society, the secret space, secret society, and that was very, Eyes Wide Shut was very,
well, Janet, so let me tell you this. When we talk about my lifeline, I was married to different men. I believed you had to be married to have sex, and I was very spiritual, if you want to say, brought up in the Christian faith. But Steve, my husband, wasn't. He was what was he, Presbyterian? Anyway, his parents lived in Florida before I met him in Houston. And over here in Florida, around the NASA area, they were more promiscuous. But he had already learned all that.
He was Methodist.
Well, it doesn't matter because we shouldn't even think through our filters with world religions. But, the thing is, the sex part, now let me tell you what Steve was all for it. Steve was always trying to get me to go to that stuff. But, But, and I met a lot of famous people because he was my husband was popular with both men and women. So he was very into learning people intimately. I was not a wife swapper. I was not into anything like that, and I was surprised to find out that I didn't even know what he was talking about and all that. But a lot of people were, yes. But Tom, on the other hand, was not, and he was more like me. But off planet on a spacecraft, the women that he met wanted to have, they would be assigned to him and go to him. And they would be asked which ones wanted to go in. And, of course, they were pretty. And because, Janet, you may be disappointed, but they don't have women marrying and all that. And the babies are brought up separate from, they're working on a spacecraft, in space.
This would make it the Secret Space brothel program.
Well, I was married to two different. I was married to actually all of the men I married worked for the government. I never realized that till just now. Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay, this is kinky, but yes, there is something reason I want to do separate topics, Janet, and this is going to have to be a weekly show just on the UFO Secret Space Command, because if you think of a human, how many years I've spent on the 67 and Ken spent 77, okay, and you said we look like a married couple. And, I was sitting there and I was supposed to be with Myron, and me and Ken were sitting there, and I gave him my skull and bones ring. And did you find my ring, Ken?
That's what I've been looking for. And I do finally remember that. I do. It's got to be in one of my boxes.
You were shocked it fit.
My souvenirs. Now, nothing happened. Nothing happened.
Nothing happened. No, I witnessed it. Nothing happened. And we steered her off to Myron. Yeah, we said no, you got to go with Myron. So she ended up with Myron for a couple months or a year, or whatever it was. Yeah.
Well, the
anyway,
thing is, people
space matchmaking.
There's different topics that we can. But Janet, there's different topics we can handle, and Janet likes the Anunnaki and the Tantra star, and the story. And Janet, just like you mentioned, there was a particular Tantra and the dancing, right? For this, let me mention it. That's what do you call it? Sky Dancer UFO Con, Janet.
Well, the name of Margot Anand's Tantra is Sky Dancing Tantra. Let me pull that up. Sky Dancing, and then they're saying Sky Dancing UFO.
It's Sky Dancer. Sky Dancer.
It's Sky Dancer.
SKY
space.
Right.
Well,
yeah,
so
DANCR.
close, right? So,
but they say native UFO Con. So he is part.
Right.
Daryl Sims, although he's an investigator in Houston, and I was, and so we had the PI people that knew each other, and then we'd go and do burn security or Wells Fargo, and I did both of those. But, in security, I wanted to work for the government. I sought the government out, but they had already put it in my head when I was in the 1967, when I was a kid, before we even graduated high school. And then, but Daryl Sims has Native American blood. I have O positive, the oldest blood in the world. So a lot of people try to split hairs and make a lot of things about all the blood. But, yeah, we're going through change with the Nordics, and I worked with some Nordics in hospitals, and I worked with psychologists in hospitals. And, every time you say a word, then you split it. It's compartmentalized. So this UFO space program, I don't know what they call it, secret space program, because all this is human-made. These are words humans are making up for the levels of existence. And so I don't think anybody can own secret space program like Corey is trying to say. But I never met Corey, although I've seen him just like everybody else maybe. I didn't go to conferences. The only thing I've gone to is the Mid-South Con in 2016. And I'm just now coming out, folks. This is my, I've been talking, but I haven't been giving my physical 3D reality out to the conferences because, number one, I wasn't ready, and number two, I had to wait till the Bush dynasty over the other side. All right, Ken, go for it.
You had to maintain your credibility, the same that I've had to do with mine. I'm sure Janet has too. We're at a point now, though, that I think the world and the number of people that have had either direct contact. This is what ETs had to do, and they initially started out. You can talk about the flyover Washington D.C. or whether that was ours or theirs, but the point is back in the early days of War of the Worlds, people would panic and jump off buildings thinking that there were ETs attacking the world. We had to get our society to the point where they understand and can accept the fact that we are only a part of sentient beings in this whole universe, and it's about time that we get recognized and can become part. Now that we're at that phase, that's where those of us like ourselves can now come forward with other experiences that we've had with extraterrestrials in our lives, or how we are discovering that we've been chosen, picked, used, however you want to call it, and it's becoming more exciting. And this is going on day by day right now. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's multi-level living in 3D reality, and now some people are going to argue dimensions. They're going to off levels. I've tried to get Tommy for years to talk about it, but dying and having firsthand experience, and then having memories. There's memories and there's experience, but there's putting them together from past life and reincarnation now. And that's how, and Richard Dolan should know this, and so should Jimmy Church. When the conferences started allowing, now I go way back to conferences. I'm not saying I didn't go back to the Whole Life Expo, or I went to the new, expos in L.A., San Fran, and I had offices in Hawaii and New York, California, and Dallas, and I was going to conferences and Las Vegas a lot. So nobody knows my story yet. But the thing is, we now are coming forth. Karen, Janet, I keep saying Karen, so I must be evoking her here. Ken, and Richard should know when people started adding all the people from Bud Hopkins forward and Dolores Cannon, and they wouldn't give us the time of day in the New Age community. They wouldn't even give us a UFO track. They fought us. There was the Rancho people and the Unity and all the New Agers with the feel good books, and the human potential people got a track, and but they would not put the UFO people. We were not accepted, folks, in the 80s in these conferences. Ken, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've got to ask you one quick question to both of you and other people that may be listening in, and that is a death experience. When I was born with a cyst over my left eyebrow, and when they operated on me to remove that cyst, they just finished it, and then my heart stopped beating, I stopped breathing. The doctor had just been through training for mouth-to-mouth resuscitation just the month before that happened. They called for what they call for a pull machine, because I just said something about you swallow your tongue and everything else. And he had me sitting up crying, sitting on the table by the time they got there with the machine. But my heart had stopped beating for over 49 seconds. And in modern times, they would have called you dead. And the point is I'm so different from my other two brothers that I'm now finding out that was the moment in time in which the entity that I am now stepped into the body that was dying. And I'm wondering how many other people have had some types of experiences like that with an event in their lives. It could well show that we've been chosen to do a certain thing. If that's nothing more than being on the radio talking with TJ and Jet, then that's what I'm here for.
Well, a lot of people will demonize that, but you go back to the old days and we had walk-ins. Look at Brad and Nancy or Francie Steiger that brought out star people. And folks, if you didn't read the book, you should read that. But, I helped write a whole bunch of stuff through the years and put it into the system. But, we can all make it demonize anything. And one of the guys says electricity. You can use electricity to light your home, or you can, stick a bobby pin in an electric socket and shock yourself. And my kid's done that plenty of times. But there's so much to talk about that has not been talked about at these conferences. And they should not have any lack of material, but they started bringing in Neil Armstrong, his group, his nonprofit. He had a couple of them, and we talked about it. And then Ray Hernandez, one of four. And Janet, remember before they got that thing going really good, that they took all our information and they compared it all. And now
you're talking about a different Neil Armstrong.
No. I'm talking about him with not the Experiences group, but Janet, when we filled out the forms, and they talk about it now in the UFO.
They were just starting. And they've done a lot of work. I don't want to, take any credibility away from them.
They took our paperwork. It was shared. I'm not taking anything away from them. I'm just saying that there was paperwork out there.
They got everybody's. They got like I don't know, hundreds of these people have filled out forms, and I only did the first and second level. I didn't do the third level. I didn't have enough time to go to the third level. So, but anyway, they have.
So there's a lot of people trying to separate it.
Book. We got a giant book.
Absolutely.
From them with all these. I think it's 500 to 1,000 pages or something. This giant book.
What's the name of it?
With all this information. I'm going to walk and see if I can see it while we're talking here. But I want to tell you, what I guess Ken was asking you, are you a walk-in? Do you have and I'll address that first, and we are going to run out of time here.
Right.
We've got 15 minutes. I don't identify as a walk-in. I remember coming in, and I had a full memory of who I was before I was human. And then there was intervention, which, they brain wiped you, they shut you down for my own protection because I was remembering too much and there were I was being protected and hidden from another faction. We have light and dark, good and bad, right? So they wanted to protect me, so they came in and kind of shut me down a level and mind wiped me so I wouldn't get hurt or killed. But no, I'm the original Janet, who is the original soul that goes all the way up to source. It's called Beyond UFOs, the Science of Consciousness and Contact with Non-Human Intelligence, Volume 1. And it's gigantic, big book. Editors Ray Hernandez, Dr. John Clemo, and Dr. Rudy Shield. This is what they're compiling from experiencer.org, and it is 775 pages, approximately. That's the new book they have out.
Okay,
huge.
and
but
so that's
the
Ray
compilation
Hernandez?
of all this research. Ray, Rudy Shield, and that whole organization called